name is Laura Cesarco Eglin. I'm a poet and literary translator from Uruguay. Tonight I'm going to read a little bit from my translations and also my own poetry, because for me, these two practices of poetry and translation are my modes of inquiry and modus vivendi. So first I'm going to read from Of Death Minimal Odes by Hilda Ilchi, that I translated from the Portuguese and came out with Cohen Press. It also won the 2019 Best Translated Book Award in Poetry from Open Letter Books. 9. Os cascos enfaixados para que eu não moça teu duro trote. É assim, cavalinha, que me virás buscar? Ou porque te pensei severa e silenciosa virás criança, num estilhaço de louças? Amante, porque te desprezei? Ou com ares de rei, porque te fiz rainha? 9. Your hooves bandaged so I won't hear your hard trot. Is this, little mare, how you'll come for me? Or because I thought you severe and silent, you'll come as a child on a shard of china? Lover, because I disdained you, or with the airs of a king because I made you queen? 15. Como se tu coubesses na crista, no topo, no anverso do osso, tento prender teu corpo, tua montanha, teu reverso. Como se a boca buscasse seus avessos, assim te busco, torção de todas as funduras. Persecutória, te sigo, amarras, músculo. E sempre te assemelhas a tudo que desliza, tempo, correnteza. Na minha boca, nos óculos, no chanfrado nariz, rio abaixo deslizas, limo, toco em direção a mim. 15. As if you fit on the crest, on the peak, on the obverse of the bone. I try to capture your body, your mountain, your reverse. As if the lips looked for their converse. That's how I look for you, torsion of all depths. Persecutory, I follow you, tether, muscle. And you always resemble everything that runs, time, the current, in my mouth, in the emptiness, in the crooked nose, downriver you run, silt, stump towards me. So this book is all about a relationship, the speaker's relationship with time, and it's debunking heteronormative ways of thinking about time. And coming from another country, I was thinking of how we inhabit time and how we conceive of time. So I wrote Time Tempo, the idea of breath, that came out in 2022 with Press 254, and I was still thinking about how time is culturally tied. One word at a time, make it a long time. Knowing languages is staying in one word long enough to enjoy its buds swelling into abundance and realizing that spring spreads sideways and always tears us a little. Knowing one word is not enough to understand, even if the word is many, even if many means you're referring to something countable. Ditch capitalism. Knowing is so flexible anyway, like what's remembered can change into a dream, into what happened and maybe forgotten. Sometimes you sleep 12 hours and are left wondering why you respond to such numbers. Does linger already have what I appreciate in slowness? To add what can multiply or subtract? There is no formula to pin down wisdom, but in stopping, consider the word again, to reformulate indifference in variations. Translations. Somehow, the year that went missing is 2017. No list of wishes, no trace of photos, only the smell of candles on the tip of my fingers doing everything it can to hold on. By that year, I no longer had any grandparents or Silvana or my dad. November, December, January, March, hold my dead close to me. They come back and return into alive and living and going on with me, even if 2017 is gone. Melanoma is also gone. But 2017 is still a scar of what's no longer. Calendars will happen no matter what. Penumbra. The moment the sun rays light up the city intermittently, so we still enjoy the lingering night and the start of a day. What day is it when that happens? I try sitting on the piece of floor that receives the light and then immediately change over to what's still in the dark and back to the light. I haven't decided on permanent. The shift is what's happening. The day will hit me differently in the hours that come and those that stay, those that leave. What is left of me after I've left a place, after it has left me? Death as fixing, but there's nothing to be fixed. Ambiguity is not broken. As if the past tense were always lost somewhere in a corner of far away. As if I couldn't speak of the past in the present. As if tense did not hold the tension of simultaneity. So in 2022, this book came out. Claus and the Scorpion by the Galician author Lara do Passo Rival, and it came out with Cohen Press, and it was longlisted for the 2023 Penn Award for Poetry in Translation, and also for the 2023 National Translation Award in Poetry. So this is a book that is that describes a world full of violence and pain, very much like our own, right? With its forceful, omnipresent repression and violence and oppression and inequities. So I'm going to read a longer poem, but I'll read a little bit from the Galician in my Uruguayan accent. Os insectos existen, quero dizer, son reais. E eu tamén son real. E o espertador às 7 da manhã, as vendas vermelhas nos pulsos. Existe o teléfono que cae, que casi non soa, e unha cama enorme azul. There are insects, they're real, and I too am real, and the alarm clock at 7 in the morning, the red bandages on my wrists. There's a phone that hardly rings and an enormous blue bed. There are books that I'll burn one day before losing my head. There are endless notebooks and a lack of interest in opening them. All of me, endless pain, bleeding for no apparent reason while it rains outside because water is purifying, even if it never stops raining. There are holes in my irises, words, all of them, even those I don't know, that make the sky's map. And there's the sky as I read books that I'll never fully know. On my enormous and lonely bed, behind the window that shatters into pieces onto the street, I wait for the street to shatter into pieces onto her down below, to be able to squeeze her one last time, but to have at least that one last time, and then the pressure, the fast rhythm. Then the blows with my fists against the wind like a dance, but other lines that aren't these lines, and my scant interest in releasing them into other languages so mine that I don't speak them. There are insects, and they speak those languages. They linger over those bodies in silence because they own everything they touch. And I, constantly giving birth to maggots, I, present at the birth of hair on my eyebrows, my forehead, my legs, a hair that grows with no strength, as I strike with my bandaged wrists and break the words with my blows and that scant interest in keeping them intact. They say poetry and I strike. They put a mirror and I strike so hard that I lose my vision. At 7 a.m, I lose my vision. At night, I sharpen my ears, but I lose my vision in this sterility of the everyday without energy to do anything else but strike the wind and feel the futility, the blindness. The insects crawl like slugs. I exist because they're real. The insects, their names. Claus also exists. He's also real, lying on the blue bed, his open chest with his heart hanging from the walls, repeated more than 30 times, his metallic heart stirred by the wind. The whole ceiling is a mirror. Claus looks at himself in that mirror. When I get there at night, he takes my hand so that I recognize the seams. His open chest widens as I run my fingers over it. The blue bed is enormous and cold. The insects climb the walls and linger over our hearts. They linger, and I feel them breathing. So in this book, Lara do Paso Rival is thinking of a casa matriz, the safe haven, love as antidotes to this violence. And I'm thinking of language as an antidote to a lot of things. So I'm going to read a poem of my own, Coming to Terms. Peeling a tangerine slowly, calling it mandarina because I need the extra syllable to take time, to touch the peel, feel it orange in my hands. Rip it apart. How different things are when we open them, how we do it. I look for another word that would lead me in without violence, mandarina. Unfurl and release. Let go of the force, mandarina. Let the opening up happen of its own accord. Offer the hand, the rind on the plate, sometimes curling, sometimes many hints of what it used to be. A word as a contract with all of its letters. Lastly, this last pair of translation and poetry is I want to read from The Mistaken Place of Things by the Mexican poet Gabriel Aguirre, that came out in December 2024 with Eulalia Books. And in this book, The Mistaken Place of Things, Aguirre's, it's a whole book about rehearsals of the possibilities of absence and presence in different places, both physical and metaphorical. Si este cuerpo es lo único que tengo, la única escalera disponible. Si este cuerpo, estas manos son la cuerda que sostiene abril, la ventana por la que pasan las cosas. Si no me basta, Gabriela, atrapada en sus alas, en un sueño de puentes, en un sueño de agua. If this body is the only thing I have, the only staircase available, if this body, these hands are the rope that holds April, the window through which things happen, if this is not enough, Gabriela, trapped in her wings, in a dream about bridges, in a dream about water. I'll read one more from this one. Atravesar. Pasillo que se recorre. Lugar de tránsito. Encuentro fugaz de la memoria. Atravesar. Cruzar la calle. Pasar. Estar en un cuerpo sin quedarse. Ir del otro lado. Permanecer de otro modo. Atravesar, verbo en imperativo, que duele cuando nos atraviesa. To go through, a corridor you go down, place of transit, a fleeting encounter with memory. To go through, cross the street, pass by, to be in a body but not to stay. To go to the other side, to stay in a different way, to go through, imperative verb that hurts when it goes through us. And in dialogue with this book, I wrote this chapbook, Between Gone and Living Home, that came out with Dancing Girl Press in 2023. So I was translating and writing this chapbook together at the same time. And I was thinking of, where is home? What place is my place? What place belongs to me? What place do I belong to? Being from a different country, having lived in different places, speaking several languages, working with translation, living in translation all the time, living here in now, if it's spring here, it's the fall in the southern hemisphere, and so on and so forth. So I'll read a poem from here. Distance as vertical and horizontal. The grass on my screen, grass twice removed from me, grass I've never seen or heard before. If I could step on it, I could step under a jacaranda, the one with the accent mark on the last syllable, the one whose identity a children's song misconstrues and gives it light blue flowers. Violet above my head in a mane, violet all over September as the start of spring. Winds and time will bring the focus to the ground and the word scattered. The focus on a hemisphere away, carried by birds that tell us a story about migration, leaving and coming back to away. Thank you.